Let's talk about why a lot of relationships are going to shit right now. Lots of people are going to shit right now because I used to think it was a wise thing to argue. It was a wise thing to debate things. But one thing I got to realize is that it's a very, very big mistake, right? And this is coming from the ninth law or the 48 laws of power, which I realized that when you argue with somebody, what you end up doing is you you win the battle, but you lose the war. In your mind, you have won the argument. The person has believed what you said. But the truth is that you never really know the person's mind. And this is why. When you argue with someone, you tell the other person that you are wrong. And when you tell the other person you are wrong, according to research, some parts in the particular brain shuts down. What you think happens when those parts shut down? What happens is the person can literally not think. The person cannot process information at that moment. The person can only access memory. What that means is the person will just keep listening. You guys will keep going back and forth. Even though you present facts, right? While those areas of the brain are shut down, the person might agree with you for the moment, so the person can have a rethink later. But at that current moment, the person is not processing anything that you are saying. So the answer is, what should you really do in a case where you think an argument is important? Demonstrate using actions, right? And there's another approach I think I would take, right? Because that area of the brain that shuts down, I always tell you that instead of arguing with somebody, ask them questions. It's a very powerful way of making them think. Whenever you make statements, you tell the person that I am thinking on your behalf, and this is my thought. This is what I want you to put in your head. But when you ask them questions, you see, one thing I've gotten to realize is everybody knows what they are doing. Everybody knows the consequences. Everybody knows themselves. But sometimes we get warped in fake beliefs that don't serve us, or ideas that don't serve us. But when you question people, that is why a lot of therapists realize that asking questions is more important than schooling people. So whenever you're arguing with somebody, shut up. Just ask them questions. You already know if you're, and obviously, this will allow the person to open the person's mind up to think, right? This will open the person's mind up to think. And also, let's imagine that you don't go this route and you argue with the person. What do you think really happens? Even if you win the argument and they agree that you win the argument, a lot of the time people go back to what they're thinking right before the argument. Although, if you have ever heard the saying that seeing is believing, then what that means is you should aim to show people, right, not argue with them. Because by seeing is believing. And that is a very, very powerful quote. So when someone's arguing with you the next time, look for ways that you can demonstrate. That is, what you want the person to do is see a demonstration and rethink their thought process. Because you cannot force the thought process into their head. And I discovered this recently when that was the last time I argued with somebody. When I argued, and this was our argument. So to show you my point, he brought up a statement saying that as a man, if you do not live up to the validation of a woman, so you can never be a man if you keep living up to the validation of a woman. And what it basically means is stop doing things because you want women to validate you. Do them because it helps you with your purpose, it helps you grow. And I was like, that's correct. And it's like, the woman was like, so why do we do all these things if we don't need the validation of women? I'm saying that no, doing them will not guarantee that women will walk into your life. Doing them will not guarantee that women will walk into your life, right? Because you really don't have that much control over that. But you see it as a side benefit or a side effect that if I work out at the gym, women will like my body quite alright. But if you don't want to go to the gym to work out for them. So me saying no, that if he's working out at the gym, it means girls should come for them. I said no. Seeing it that way is very, very wrong, because what that means is that, oh, because you are rich now and you have no game with women, you have no confidence, so therefore women must like you. That mindset is dangerous. It's dangerous because it's going to lead to entitlement. And we had this argument back and forth. The irony was that we spent about 2 hours. No, not we spent about. We spent roughly about 2 hours, right? About 2 hours. The next day, 1 hour, right? And another day, 30 to 45 minutes. And it was then that I realized that I was fighting a very, very stupid battle. A very stupid one, because the third day he came to meet me for the argument. Ironically, he told me that he went to the office, right? And then he brought up this argument in the office. And in the office, there were more people that studied my points than other people. but still he wasn't too satisfied. And I'm like, it's to me at some point I felt a little moment of joy that I won the argument, but I felt very very stupid, right? Because if I focus on asking questions, right, rather than making statements, I feel like if he doesn't get my point after asking the question, then there's no point demonstrating anything. But I had an analogy though, but I think I missed it. This was my analogy, right? Imagine this, right? No, I don't think I should even go into it because a lot of things are completely out of context and not important to this situation. But basically, if you ever find yourself in a place where you have to argue, your best bet is either you demonstrate. Demonstration is very very powerful, and if you're trying to communicate any message, one thing you realize is if you know how to demonstrate that point, you are like ahead of about 90% of the population because demonstration is very powerful. Like I said, seeing is believing. And when people see something, they come to a conclusion faster. It's faster to change their thought process when they realize that, okay, this thought process actually works. Because rather than arguing, but if you know you can demonstrate it, get into the art of questioning. Because questioning is very powerful. Questioning will open their minds into making them realize that what has been going on for a while. And speaking about arguing is actually very, very dangerous. And I see this thing a lot where I've seen this argument over and over again. I'll call it gender debate. Gender debate is a very, very big problem right now. Although it starts as jokes, right? It starts as satire, sarcasm, but it's actually plaguing population. A lot of people take gender war, which, in my opinion, when I saw gender war, to me it was like cruise, something to laugh about. But no, people now take gender war as an actual debate, and the debate is between men and women who is more shittier. And the answer is simple: both. You have shitty men, you have shitty women, and literally, you literally see men who do not understand the nature of women. They see some content because whether they like it or not, gender war is super raging. They see all this raging content, soak it up about women, right? And they believe that is how women are. And I'm saying, bro, zoom out. Those guys are there for entertainment. One, two. Those guys are showing you only a select group of women. If you get to zoom out, you get to realize that there are more types of women that that are out there. And it becomes easier to relate to women when you understand this concept that I just basically spoke about right now. So my message here is demonstrate. So whenever when I'm talking to guys, I have a lot of guys that simp, right? And now like recently, especially people who I'm coaching, what I tell them is this. I show them situations. Okay, I keep on showing them. I try to break down what I'm showing them. They may argue, but I don't respond. I switch into questioning. And one thing that I always realize is that questioning is so powerful because one day they would like get it. Because why? They're asking the right questions. This is why I tell people that questions is how you get anything out of anybody. If you want to ask, if you're trying to make a sale, the more questions you ask, the more quality and qualifying questions you ask, the better the sale. If you're talking to a woman, the more present you are in your questions and the more open she is with you, the better the conversation. Questions can lead to a very, very deep conversations if you understand the art towards it. So the message here is simple. Never ever argue with someone because when you argue with somebody, even though you win, and that reminds me, Jordan Peterson said something right. That whenever men argue with their wives, because whether I like it or not, in most situations, when men and women argue, and the man is on the logical side, the woman is on the feminine side. More often than not, a lot of men win the argument, right? A lot of it. Some, also a lot because that will just lead to the gender war problem. A lot of time, the men win, right? And I'm not even yet to get into the thought process of behind it, but say that whenever you take pride in that winning over and over again, what really happens is your wife will go back and revisit because women remember a lot of things, and trust me, they remember the most emotional parts. Whenever you make her feel stupid, right? Over and over again, she's going to embody the identity of somebody who keeps losing arguments, right? Who keeps losing arguments, and in that process, she's going to build some form of resentment towards you as a partner. And he says, I'm not entirely sure I got his advice here, but if I'm to give an advice based on what he said is, instead of arguing, right, you guys should find a way of properly communicating, right? And I always say that women in a very heated debate. Stop it. You need to get her to an emotional state to communicate that idea to her. Because whether I like it or not, sometimes when they are in a certain emotional state, everything you're saying comes in here, goes out through here. Nothing really remains. Or it may go in through here, they will process it with that emotion, read a wrong meaning to it, and before you know it, all that communication gap has just widened. So calm down. Wait for a situation where she's less aggressive and discuss with her. And then it's even nice if you know how to play with a woman's emotions too. And basically I always tell guys to know how to swing women's emotions from happy to sad, joy to cry, and everything. Just basically sometimes if you're starting up drama, her starting up drama is not the right time to be logical there. And then we'll talk about this later. So lastly, I'll say the power of demonstration is so that the person you're arguing with doesn't see a need to return the argument. It's easier to believe after you have seen a demonstration. That is also one secret of Apple or Steve Jobs. He makes sure in any single product he's doing, he demonstrates it to the audience. What that means is he's not promising the audience what you will get. He's showing the audience what they will get, and that is very, very powerful. That is why a lot of times, a lot of videos they put bureaus, why? Because they want to show you what they are talking about. Now, so back to the whole idea of what strategic loss of power. When aiming for power or trying to conserve it, always look for the indirect route. Choose your battles wisely. Remember when I said, if you look at it, life is like a war. It's like if you take life to be a war game, these arguments are battles. If you choose your battles wisely and choose your strategy in those battles, you're definitely going to gain power. If it does not matter in the long run whether the other person agrees with you or not, because this person I was talking to, somebody is a friend and somebody who I've coached, and I'll say in terms of habit, he's successful at it already. He's on an upward trajectory. He's getting good habits, dumping his bad habit and becoming a better person by his own standards. So that means is in the long run, if the other person agrees with you and it has no effect, what that means is kill it. It says, or if time and their own experience will make them understand what you mean, then it's best not to even bother with the demonstration. Save your energy and walk away. What that means is if somebody brings up an argument, right, and then it has no point. You realize that you cannot change the person's mind regardless, because there are people like that. And even though you change the person's mind, it has no effect on your life, it has no effect on anything, then walk away. A quick one on this, right? A quick story, very brief. I was at the gym someday and then I met this lady who said, "Oh, I saw your content, I went into your page, what do you talk about?" I said, "Yes, my content is simple. I'm basically trying to make men strong again." She says, "No, why am I doing that? That we don't need strong men." I'm like, "Why would you say we don't need strong men?" She's like, "The world is already patriarchy enough." I said, "What? So what? So what's the point about patriarchy?" He said, "No, we need more women in the system." I said this. I knew where she was going to. And this is what I said. This is what I asked. Is it weak men or strong men that do all these rapings and everything, all this rape, violence against women? Say yes, those men are very weak. I asked, do you want to have more of them? She paused. She kept quiet. She said no. I'm saying, so doesn't it make sense that we should make men strong again? He said, whatever, the world is already patriarchal enough. Now she gave it a serious thought of what I said and still chose, right, to go the route of, oh, the world is already patriarchy enough, so we don't need more strong men. I'm saying no. You having strong men is to your advantage, right? And guess what? I don't know how it is, but I can tell that she's single. And from time to time, I talk to her, but I don't talk to her along those lines because it always falls into deaf ears. And I can tell that this little flex that I do, it gets so high easily. And I'm not trying to shame her or anything. My point is that there was no point arguing with her. She was not willing to change her mind. And I don't really think I need her to change her mind. I'm asking her for her to just be open-minded. So if you made it this far, you're someone who takes himself serious. And if you take yourself serious, one thing you get to realize is arguments are not worth it. They don't serve you, they don't serve the person who you're arguing with. So take this advice or take this video, share it to somebody who you know takes himself very, very serious. That act of sharing this video will basically help the channel grow, will make me realize that more men are waking up to the fact that they need to become more powerful over themselves first. Because when you're powerful over yourself, you know not to get into some argument, and you know the arguments to get into and the ones to get into. So thank you very much. Go out there, share this video, and let's get like-minded minds together. Talk to you soon. And bye for now.